Now, this section is about preparing the house. Now, I want to give you some timelines about how soon really the house should be ready for the new arrival of your baby. Really and truly, there's many things to cover, but it takes the entire pregnancy for you to really be prepared, and things are happening at different stages in different trimesters. For example, at the beginning, you want to do all of the research within the first trimester. You found out your wife is pregnant, and it's a time where things are going to overwhelm you. There's a lot of information out there, and it's a time for information gathering as a father. This is a time where you need to do a lot of research about the whole process, finding out about what's happening to your wife, how the whole process is going to be, learning the stages of the baby's developments, and kind of going through that together. But at the same time, preparing the house is very important. Why? Because this is the environment, firstly, you will be living in, but also how you're going to bring the baby into this environment. So this is a time where you're researching which baby bottles are good. Do I need an anti-colic one? Do I need one that's kind of are we even going to have bottles in the first place, because it's going to be solely breastfeeding? Are we going to do formula versus breast milk? Are we going to these are conversations that you need to also have with your wife and make sure that you're on the same page with. Past the baby bottles, there's so many different types of formulas out there. You need to know what you're doing. Are you doing goat's milk? Are you doing organic? Are you doing the kind of normal chemical based ones? Are you doing this brand or that brand? You may have heard this brand is better than that brand. I'm not going to mention the brands, but there's a whole conversation. Why don't you both take a walk in the supermarket and just see what's on display? Read the ingredients, check which ones have good reviews, check which ones have maybe won some awards. And it's a similar journey me and my wife took. We took those awards and we took the reviews and we based our judgment on that. Then, for example, that's baby bottles, that's formula, but you need to also know that you need to be ready to clothe the baby. You need to have certain clothes, some vests, some baby grows, and this is what's going to be the first set of clothes that your baby is going to be wearing. You need to have enough that you can survive maybe a few leaks and a few nappy changes in. But remember that if it's your first child, you're going to be given so many gifts by other people, and a clothes is going to be part of the package. People love shopping for babies, and you're going to get plenty of clothing. Sometimes when it comes to it, we think, hang on, we actually didn't buy that much clothes for our kids, because people generally end up gifting these things as a way. So keep that in mind and reduce that as a stress as well. One tip I'll say here is half of the things in the baby market are more for the parents to feel good, and they're not really practical for the kids, right? You don't need so much to look after a child. Rather, you need to know what's efficient for you and what's sufficient for you. So with that being said, I want you to focus on preparing the house now. That's kind of the bottles, the formula, those conversations you need to have. You need to make sleeping arrangements for the baby for the time being. You need to know if you need a Moses basket, whether you're getting a full-fledged cot. Is that something your room can accommodate? These are now things practically that you need to consider for bringing the baby home. You need to make sure you got the baby room temperature monitor there so that you can make sure, obviously, the baby needs to be at a certain temperature. If it's too hot or too cold, you need to be monitoring that. Preparing early is the best thing. Most of these things I would like to recommend from myself that you do and have done by around the 5-month mark, because the second your wife is entering the final trimester, it's going to be very difficult and kind of very slow moving in terms of what you're able to do. So having a timeline of when you're doing these tasks means that you'll be able to knock them out and kind of go through the pregnancy less stressed, because you're spreading everything out. We get so distracted with things, or we get so overwhelmed with things. Just pace yourself and make certain markers in what you need to prepare for the house. Make a list. We need to make sure we get all the baby equipment. We need to make sure we get all the clothing and nappies and wipes. We need to make sure that the house is set up for a baby cot, how they're going to sleep, maybe some equipment like thermometers and extra medication. We may need Calpol on hand, for example. These are all the things to think about. And at the same time, towards the end of that middle trimester, the second trimester, into the beginning of the third, you want to start thinking about the hospital bag as well. Dadhood has made a list where you can go on the website and find a whole load of things that you should have in the hospital bag. Not all of those will be relevant and not all of those things are needed, but it's just on the side of safety. So go through that. That hospital bag is so important. We need to make sure at least before 3 weeks you go in for the due date, that hospital bag is ready, packed, and in the corner of the room to be picked up at any point. that is a vital lifeline that you'll need in the hospital. So don't leave that last minute. You want to be able to just grab that bag and run out the house should anything happen 3 weeks before the actual due date.